Hi guys, welcome to the resourcing part of the program. We will use resourcing in conjunction with inner child work that we reviewed in the previous recorded workshop and in our individual sessions. So now, first of all, let's talk about what is resourcing. Resourcing is essentially, this is a technique used in a trauma therapy, but also in any kind of a strengths approach to psychological growth, or in some approaches to anxiety depression. Actually, it's being widely used in therapy. Why? What is it? Basically, when we say resourcing, it means by utilizing certain techniques that we talk about in the end of our presentation, we are establishing connection with our own internal strengths, our own internal ability to cope with distress and to bring out our own real desires and also the strengths and abilities that will help us down the road to manage our life and to go forward and achieve what is desired. And once you understand how to use resourcing, that again we will definitely review in our individual session, and as usual fine-tune all the tools that you will receive in this presentation to your individual needs. Once you have that, you will be able to use them throughout the whole program, but in them they can be your tools throughout your whole life for growth, for anything, tools for anything. They can be tools for growth, for healing, for change. In essence, resourcing creates an internal feel of safety and stability that tells us we are whole. We have what we need for our growth, healing, and change inside ourselves. We just need to connect to it. Resourcing includes different factors. That can be emotional regulation. That can be some cognitive strategies. That can be some connection to your personal values or to your positive memories, and to some internalized resources for safety and competence that are already in you. As example, by connecting to your resources, you can really recover from many setbacks that naturally occur in life. Also, you will require ability to soothe yourself from any distressing feelings that come through. You will connect to feelings of your past successes, to the positive feelings, and by installation of those feelings that we'll discuss later in the presentation, you will be able to remind yourself that you are able to overcome the challenges and thrive. Resourcing can also help you tackle the future obstacle. You can use them, the memories, past happy memories or past positive memories, you can use as reservoirs of power, your internal power that you can tap in anytime when you need some support. Also, you can use resourcing as a source of calmness, internal empowerment, and joy when faced with any life challenges. You can build safety and self-efficacy. So bottom line is, activating the internal resources will help you to realize that you already inside yourself have the tools for healing and growth. And the outcome of that would be increased self-esteem, self-confidence, and resilience. Now let's talk about why we're using resourcing in our program, in the program of connecting to our true selves. Connection to the true self, the authentic connection to the true self, is really dependent on connecting to adaptable and true beliefs about ourselves that we already discussed in inner child work. How does resourcing help? By stimulating neuroplasticity of our brain. Just for a second, let's talk about what is neuroplasticity. In our inner child workshop, we already mentioned the plastic and malleable brain of children. But there has been lots of research done in the last, couple of decades that is saying that, yes, of course, our brains as adults are less plastic. But still, with some effort, we can still change the perceptions deeply ingrained in our brain in the childhood. So what does it mean? If, as children, we were taught or absorbed some beliefs that are not helpful to us in our present life, that are painful to us, we still have a power to change them. Change by applying this rule of neuroplasticity, by stimulating our brains for change. Okay, how does resourcing do that? Think about your brain as a forest. And there is one road in a forest that you usually take. This road is clean and straight, not covered with anything that obstructs your connection to this road. There is nothing obstructs this road. So, as we discussed already in inner child work, our brain is a little bit lazy. It doesn't like to work if it doesn't have to. So, by activating the default network in the brain, it picks the easy road. The easy road meaning this belief about yourself and the world, this road in the forest that you used to pick all the time. Okay? But in time, you're realizing that this road, although it's easy to go to walk on, does not lead you to where you need to go. So how do we change it? How do we change it to the road that is easier for us, that is maybe right now is harder for us to take, but the one that most likely will lead to our final goal? Meaning, how do we change this negative perception road to the adaptable, positive, true perception about ourselves and the world? We conscientiously telling to the brain, I know you want to take this road. I mean, you want to think this negative belief about myself. But I know this road doesn't lead me anywhere. So I will make an effort, a concerned effort, to go down a different road, to have a positive and helpful belief about myself and act on this belief. As with any road in the forest, in the very beginning, taking new road will be very, very hard. It's going to be covered with lots of bushes, with grass, with all the obstructions. So we will have to really force ourselves to clean it up, to take a painstaking efforts to enhance it, to make it wider, to make it cleaner, step by step, time by time. And the more often and more consistent we apply these efforts, the bigger this road becomes, the cleaner it becomes. And the old road that are not being walked on anymore, slowly becoming covered with grass and bushes and all the obstructions that usually grow up in the forests. What happens? The old road becomes harder to tackle, and the new road becomes easy to walk on. One day, it's really becomes our default network, because our brain will say to itself, this is the road that is easy to take now, so without thinking much, on instinct, I will just take this road. Meaning for us that we instinctually start picking up the positive, adaptable belief about ourselves and act on that in turn will obviously lead to our final goal, connection with the true self. How resourcing helps us here? Again, every time before, when we need to clean this road, when we know it's very, very hard to take, we can lean back on our internal strengths that we discover in the resourcing process. Or we can lean back on certain imaginary supportive figures that we'll also talk about in resourcing that can also become our resource. We can lean into calming resourcing, like a safe, calm place that we talked about in the child network. They will become our tools that we can clean this road with. Or they can become like our partners in helping us to clean out this road. Basically, instead of just going to clean this road by yourself, you're bringing internal crew to help you to clean up this road, so you can do it easier. It would be an easier process for you, and you can accomplish it in a faster time. Kind of really quickly to explain it on our example that we used in a child workshop. If you used to think about yourself, well, I'm ugly, so I am socially undesirable and unlovable, your old network would be, your old road in the forest would be, I am undesirable and unlovable. When any new interaction happens, either with friends or with partners or co-workers, your default is going to be, okay, I am socially undesirable and unlovable, and you will be acting as if you believe that about yourself, which you really might believe so. But if you start consciously working with your neuroplasticity, if you start consciously applying the tools that we use in this workshop, resourcing being one of those, you will say to yourself, I remember, here's we're using a resourcing example, I remember there was a time when I was picked for this volleyball team, or I was picked by my friends as valedictorian, or I was picked by my friends for this game. Or I remember how this group of people invited me out and we really had fun. And I had such a great time. This is your resource. So you're taking this resource as your helper to go down the different road and start cleaning the road, which called I am desirable and I'm lovable. And next time your default network will take you, I am undesirable and unlovable, you might say, well, I know I'm not there, but I don't believe it yet. How can I help myself? So you might go to your calm and safe place, calm down your system, and from the calmness, take the different road. Or you can bring up, and again, this is something which we'll review later, your imaginary resource. It can be a superwoman, okay? Or it can be fairy godmother that knows how wonderful and amazing you are. And you will say, hey, fairy godmother, or hey, superwoman, or whatever this resource is for you, help me to believe that I am lovable and desirable. So can we consciously go and take the new road, apply a new belief, I am socially desirable and lovable, even though we might not believe it yet. And the more you do it consistently, one day somebody invites you out, and without second thought you will say yes and you get excited. Why? Because you activated your new belief. Your new belief becoming your default network. And the old belief will become this old road in the forest that you will probably not take anymore. Or maybe take, it's not going to go away. It's not going to disappear. but it will become very hard to take. You wouldn't be defaulting to that anymore unless maybe some big trigger comes from the past. You might go down there, but then you might well look at it and say, no, that's not our road, or you might have to make a concerted effort not to go there. This process is called synaptic pruning. It's like synaptic pruning means we're like pruning a certain, cutting out a certain networks or certain habitual ways that we don't need to use, and we're activating the networks as a way of functioning and thinking that are helpful to us. Now let's talk about how resourcing affects our overall well-being. Well, first of all, resourcing regulates amygdala. Amygdala is a part of the brain that plays a major part in regulating our emotions. When we're stressed out, or when we're under effects of trauma, or when we really believe negative and painful things about ourselves, amygdala gets activated and it becomes hyper responsive to anything that is stressful or painful to us. Resourcing, in turn, by recalling positive memories or peaceful feelings in the body, comes down amygdala. We're having a significant reduction in activations of the body and mind, which means significant reduction of stress, which allows our whole system to function in a more peaceful and helpful and positive way. Also, resourcing, again, by connecting to your strengths, connecting to your internal power, strengthens our prefrontal cortex. And prefrontal cortex is our executive function, sort of a CEO of our brain, and prefrontal cortex is our executive function. Once we straighten it, we're able to make a more clarity, we're able to better reflect, make decisions that come not from anxiety, not from fear, but from our internal self, from our true connection with our authentic core. We'll be able to take into consideration the multiple perspectives of life, of different situations. This is an essential part of living out of our true selves. What else resourcing does? It enhances the function of hippocampus. Hippocampus is involved in memory processing. In many cases, we are obscuring, like when we have traumatic memories or traumatic perceptions, painful perceptions about ourselves, it's hard for our mind to process this event in the way how it actually occurred, just to protect us from pain. That's protection that we discussed in the part of the inner child work. Also, the enhancing hippocampus function helps with so-called triggering. Triggering means that when we're reacting at something that is happening in this very moment, from pain that occurred to you when trauma happened, or something painful in your childhood or adolescence happens. As example, we're not reacting to what's happening now. We are being triggered by either word or the action that reminded you of your pain from the past. As example, your partner tells you, would you mind doing the dishes today? You're hearing the voice of your mother. You never do anything around the house. You're good for nothing. You're going to be punished if you're not going to do your dishes right now, this very second. So this triggering, this pain response in you. My partner is telling me that I'm lazy. He is dissatisfied with me. He is mad with me. So we are reacting the way we wanted to internally react to our mother at that time, but we couldn't. And that reaction again depends on our own emotional predisposition, fight or flight response. Do we fight? Do we fly? Fight? Do we go inside ourselves? Do we flee from the scene? Do we fawn? So instead of just saying to our partner, yes, okay, I will do the dishes, or no, I will not do the dishes now. Just normal response to what he asked you to. We either start insulting him, fighting with him, or withdrawing and crying and feeling hurt, okay, or just jumping up and doing the dishes if we don't want to do the dishes. Basically, we're having pain or traumatic reaction to something that did not really happen right now. So straightening hippocampus functioning helps us not just to process the memory, but to also react to the current events appropriately, not go by understanding the distinction between what happened in the past and what is happening now. So kind of putting our memories in a context, so to speak. Okay? And again, what we already talked about, neuroplasticity. Resourcing definitely supports our neuroplasticity. We already discussed that part in length. So it increases resourcing, it increases neuroplasticity by making our pathways of our habitual thought reactions more robust. So making it easier for us to not just manage stress, which of course they are, but also manage our life in more adaptable and productive and helpful way. Also, resourcing enhances so-called social engagement system, which also helps to manage our vagus nerve activity. And the vagus nerve, which is a kind of a nerve which been, if you want to read more about it, I will send you to the work of Stephen Porges, and we will have some information in the resourcing. But basically what it talks about is how by certain concerned efforts we can re-engage our network of our body, called the social engagement system, to become more grounded and more calm and connected. So how can we foster the sense of internal safety and connection to ourselves and to the world? It can be done in many different ways, but resourcing is one of those. Okay, so it will help us again to manage our emotions, connect with others, and engage in healing activities. And of course, resourcing promotes the release of positive neurotransmitters. By going to your calm and peaceful place, or engaging in your mind's eye with supportive figures, or recalling some events from the past that were really happy, or that were very happy to you, where you felt empowered, helps us to release such helpful neurotransmitters like serotonin or dopamine. These neurotransmitters are connected with enhancement of pleasure and with mood regulation. Besides improving the symptoms, of course, of anxiety by connecting with pleasure and by regulating our mood, we're able to deeper connect with our true self, again from the place of peace and calmness, and not from the place of anxiety and fear that will not result in a connection with the true self. Okay, so now before we actually go to applicable exercises that will help you to tap into your resourcing, let's recoup why resourcing is an integral part of connection to our internal resourcing is an integral part of our program of connection with the true self. Once we really understand and tap in into our values, that our resources, into our internal strengths, our internal desires, we will be able not to wear the adaptive masks anymore. We will be able to disconnect from our so-called persona, which we are putting into this world as a protective mask, protective mechanism of functioning in the world. Why? Because we either not sure if we will be accepted by the world in the way we are, or we're not sure if we will be able to survive in the world, and not just survive but also thrive in the world just the way we are, by connection with our internal strengths and building up of some internal resourcing will help us to lose this mask and to really relax, breathe, and know that it's absolutely fine to be ourselves and to connect with the world from our authentic self, not from the mask we're wearing. That it's safe. It's safe, and it's not only safe. This is the only way we can really thrive and fulfill our life purpose. When we disconnected from ourselves, we have feelings constantly. We have feelings of emptiness. We really cannot tap into our meaning. And we also have difficulties connecting with some life choices that based on our true authentic desires and values. Our internal resourcing help us to understand our internal desires and values, and internal resourcing gives us strength, an ability, and sense of peace and calmness and safety to be able to fulfill our internal desires and passions. Well, first of all, to connect with them, okay, acknowledge them, accept them, and then start fulfilling them. For example, once you strengthen emotional regulation skills, you will be able that you don't have to rely again on your defensive mechanisms by hiding some emotions or by your defensive mechanisms of not acknowledging emotions or pushing them down or denying them. You will be able to relax, to acknowledge these emotions, and you will be able to have a constructive ways of releasing these emotions. So what it does in turn, it releases lots of energy in you, the energy that you use to maintaining this hold, this grip on your emotions. You will be able to use this energy towards pursuit of your passions, or towards fulfilling your life purpose, or towards just nurturing and healing and giving yourself joy. We already talked about before how resourcing can help you to change your unhelpful belief into helpful belief cognitions, and this is something that we will review in depth. And so this change of unhelpful beliefs to helpful beliefs we will review in depth into our next session, in our next recorded session. But one thing which I definitely want to mention before we actually start talking about resourcing itself, the exercises for the ways how you can connect to your internal resourcing, is that they really show us our true abilities. By calling in our internal resourcing, it's like connecting to inner child. It's like connecting in a childhood to compassionate, empowering, loving parents who will really know us and who will pinpoint to us, who will show us our own strengths, and who will help us to connect to our true needs, and who will help us to be excited about fulfilling our desires and about understanding what is our true strengths and how can we use them to lead our own authentic lives, the best life we can lead. So how it happens? The positive memory or calm nervous system or calling on supportive figure around whom you will feel strong and safe and powerful, on calling on that imagery will help us to feel safe. We're creating internal safety, and in turn our system can relax, knowing that now it's safe to maybe tap into some very deep-rooted desire or deep-rooted goal in life that will come from your authentic self. So basically we're creating safety inside of ourselves for our deep-rooted, maybe hidden before goals and desires to come to the surface. And once we acknowledge these deep-rooted desires and goals, again, by applying different tools from the program, including resources, we can start charting the path towards fulfilling these desires and goals, and chart this path from our true authentic strengths. Now let's discuss and give you some exercises and practical ways of creating internal resourcing. And again, I want to mention that probably listen to this whole video in its entirety before trying to apply exercises. And also, why it's important to listen to the whole video, because it's next to impossible to apply all exercises at the same time. So I would invite you to listen and pick, well, maybe in the beginning, one or two exercises that call to you. And later on, you might pick one or two exercises from each section. The sections of resourcing that we discussed today would be self-led resources. This is section 1. Relationship-based and symbolic resources, section 2. Self-connection resources, section 3. And so-called success-based resources, section 4. So to recoup, I would invite you to listen. In the very beginning, pick up one or two or three connect resources or exercises on resourcing that call to you from all the 4 sessions, just overall. And once you feel comfortable applying these resources on periodic basis, then you can listen to this workshop again and jot down other resources that you want to apply, maybe 1 or 2 resources from each section. And again, you don't have to apply these resources on the daily basis. Some of them you can. Some of them you can apply as needed. And in our individual session, we'll have a whole session dedicated just to your resourcing. We will fine-tune this process for you. So we'll handpick the ones that's more called for in your situation, that's more aligned with your goals and more aligned with what exactly it needs to be worked on in your system right now. Okay, so for now, just listen to the description, and so you'll have an idea what we can do here. Okay, so what is a self-led resources? These resources help us to tap into connection with ourselves and experience being ourselves led as if it's already led by your true self. So the first resource that we discussed is so-called ritual. We can create different rituals around our life. These rituals can be helpful for, again, finding out, kind of a sensing out true self. They can be helpful for processing grief or some emotions that negative emotions that are holding you back you from fulfilling your life purpose. So what are the examples of rituals? And again, remember, all this is just an overview. Don't worry if you don't get everything. We will clear it out and we'll definitely dissect it in our individual session. So rituals can be creating an altar in your house and meditating by this altar or praying at this altar. Altar can be creating with any part of your house or your backyard, with literally anything that is meaningful to you. That can be pictures of maybe people you love, can be pictures of Star Wars figures, or pictures of saints, or pictures of your favorite actors. Somebody who you feel really connected to. It can be crystals, can be crosses, okay? Can be, you can put prayer books in there, different prayer books. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you really have a space that you feel safe in and connected to. And you can pray there, you can meditate, or you can just be, okay? Self-led resources can be saying blessings, simple blessings towards yourself. May I bless myself. May I be happy and peaceful and free. It can be blessing towards others, just the same way. You know, like a famous Buddhist blessing can be all sentient beings can be happy, peaceful, and free. It can be intentional resource of negative emotions, something that we're also going to go over in our program, is allowing ourselves to feel the emotions and then release them in a healthy way, let them flow out of you. And again, it can be mindful meditation or any kind of a mindful practices like mindful eating, mindful walking. So basically anything that has a meaning to you and that can become your ritual. Ritual means something that you do periodically. You don't have to do it on the daily basis. You don't have to do it on any consistent basis. Again, in the beginning, it would be great if you could, just to create a habit of it. But later on, you can just connect to this altar, to your altar, or do a blessing just as you called to. So this is the rituals. Now we can talk about resources that in your PowerPoint are called self-led safety resources. This is very much related to what we already done in a child part of the session, is creating the place of safety inside of you. This is your safe place. Another way you can create some safety, and again, if you like this one, I will show you how to do it in a private session, is to create a certain container for your emotions where you can put your difficult feelings and emotions for a while. If you need to do something that requires your strength, you can create the container and put your fears and negative emotions for a while, so they will not interfere with something that urgently needs to be done there. Knowing that you can always recall them and take them back. Okay, so this is one way. Another safe-led safety resource is releasing something that doesn't serve you, either negative emotions or negative beliefs, to the nature. We can release them to the water, to the fire, to the earth, to the air. Let me know if this is something that interests you. we can have a separate session on that and we can go through that release. Okay, so you can also releasing your own and your ancestral burdens. In the same way, this is a little bit more involved subject, but I just want you to make you aware of what it is. You will have an excellent book on that and on releasing ancestral burdens in your bibliography. And also, if you need to reach out to me or reach out to any practitioner that works with ancestral burdens and can facilitate this release. So if you're interested in this part of the program, again, we can discuss it. You don't have to do it with me. You can, but you absolutely don't have to do it with me. You can do it with, there's a lot of excellent practitioners who work just even specifically with ancestral burdens. Okay? Another resource, self-led resource, is conversations with your younger self. This is, again, you already done this one in your inner child work. Remember how we connected our younger self from our adult part and how we're nurturing the sense of safety, security, love, and well-being in our younger self. And how we're taking our younger self through milestones of our life and kind of showing our younger self that now this part is safe and secure with our adult self. So as a resource, so the sense of security and safety can also be used as a resource. Even when we're in adult self, we can recall this conversation, and then we can recall this feeling of connection and just stay with it anytime when we need to feel more peaceful, safe, and secure. Okay? And then in the self-led resources, we have a group which I would call the embodied resources. This is an intentional practice that can help you to connect with the power of your body, with the grace of your body, and with the femininity that sometimes can be hidden from our conscious view, but it still resides in our body. Also, the body somatic or body-centered resources help us to balance our yin and yang qualities that in all of us, and it's very healthy when they're in balance. Okay, and it's also, of course, will allow you to really connect and live in your body. This is essential, and living our body is essential part of living in a true self, because remember what it is. It's a connection of our body, our heart, our soul, our mind, and our spirit. Everything needs to be in balance, and we are starting with the body. So how it can be done? There is a different techniques which I personally don't practice, but I can, if you can read about them, if you will be interested, maybe we can point you out towards some practitioners. One of them is called Alexander technique. Another one is Feldenkrais technique. These techniques help you to really connect and understand how where the feelings store in your body, and just how does your body takes you through life. Just really be, not just carry your body, but be inside your body. Another technique for embodied resources is connection through we've already kind of done it, and we're going to do them again, is a connection to the feelings through your body, and we'll absolutely touch on them in our work together. But by yourself, what you can do by yourself, it's talk to your body. Default again to this inner child work that we've done before, when you sense the sensation in your body and you acknowledged it, and you felt and you connected to how the feelings, certain feelings, come out in your body from the sensory perception. How do you sense it in your body? How do you know that you're sad? By activation of a certain body part or certain sensation. Or if you're happy or if you're angry, this is embodied resource. And now let's go to the funner one, easy one, like taking a warm, nice bath and relaxing and sensing how water feels on your body is an embodied resource. Or taking a nice shower and really feeling how the water hits certain part of your body is a resource. Smelling different nice lotions, or gently putting lotion onto your skin and sensing how does it land on your skin, how does it smell to you. So I would invite you for this one, just to go to any store, smell different lotions, see which one appeals to you, buy it. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. It can be anything that you like, and preferably something natural, something that is good for your skin. Just slowly put it in and smell it. Start to connect to fabrics. Say, what kind of a fabrics do I like? Do I like cotton? Do I like silk? Do I like a combination of different fabrics? So I would invite you to treat yourself to go into clothes store. Try different clothes on. You want to buy them, buy them. You don't want to buy them, no worries. But just sense the fabric and just know how your body feels in different fabrics. And then try to really create your wardrobe around these fabrics that feels good and comfortable for your body. So here we're getting to know what does our body like, what does our body needs from us, okay? Then this embodied resources yoga, doing can be any sport. When you feel the muscles, when you run, you feel the muscles of your legs, you feel your diaphragm, you feel your chest, you feel your breathing. This is connecting to resources. Doing yoga, we connect to different body parts. We connect to our breathing. This is how we get to know our body. I very strongly and very highly recommend yoga, which called yin yoga, Y-I-N, yin, when you, and you can do that on YouTube if you have a section, yoga studio that you love that offer yin classes. Do that. And you stay in the pose for 2, 3, 4 minutes and you just breathing and senses different muscles and trying to gently relax the muscles. Okay, so that type of yoga is very helpful. Yeah, just any kind of activity that helps you to connect with the body. It's like painting. You can think, how does my body react to different colors? How do different colors feel in my body? Different painting techniques feel for me. Dancing, of course. How do my body react to different music, to different movements? Singing, playing instruments. How do I, if you can, if not, just sing in the shower, sing in the car. You don't have to be a musician. What type of music do I like? What songs make me feel sad? What songs make me feel happy? Okay, or joyous? Basically, these resources tell you this is anything that help you to connect to what your body needs from you and how you can live fully in your body. Okay, so this is our self-led resources. Now let's move on to the next section, which are relationship-based and symbolic resources. So in the first part, self-led resources, we're coming up with resources for you that can be then come up either from your internal self or by you consciously making connection with your body. This section talks about resources that are based on relationship with others or symbols that can be created by either your conscious mind or sometimes they will come up from your subconsciousness. So what are these resources? First resource, and again, you will have them all in your PowerPoint that you see in the screen right now. This resource is supportive others. So what is this supportive others? You can create a visual in your mind's eye. If you have a picture of the person, it's great. If you don't, you can create a visual in your mind's eye. So this picture or visual would be of somebody real. It can be your mom, can be your dad, can be your teacher, okay? Can be a nurse in your kindergarten. But this is somebody who you knew, gave you love and care and attention. What are we doing with this resource? Once we have the mental picture of the supporting other, we can bring, and we then will connect in our body to this mental picture. We will feel how bringing up this person to our consciousness feels in our body. How does it create the feeling again of love, support, safety? Whatever feeling is associated for you with this person, we can bring this feeling towards our regular life and apply it and connect to it in a distressing situation, or bring up the image of supportive person and imagine them standing by our side in either stressful situation or important situation when you have to make a decision. So just using it really as additional strengths and support and safety resource. Let's say if you have nobody, no people in your life who you felt really connected, who you knew that really supported you, maybe it's your pet, okay? Maybe you had a dog when you were a child. Maybe you have a cat now, or a parrot. It doesn't matter what it is, but you know that creature really cares for you, really loves you, really connected to you, and you connected to them. So supportive others here, in this part, we're talking about the real representative, real pets or real people who were in our life. Okay. Next part is becoming more imaginative. Actually, let me switch them. Let me switch the sequence that this presentation showing and just talk about symbolic resources, and then we'll come back to positive role model and internal resourcing. Okay, so if in supportive others we were talking about the real figures of our lives, in symbolic resources we might say, okay, maybe I want to connect to my higher power. This can be real or imaginary people who we didn't encounter in our life directly. That can be Mahatma Gandhi, that can be Jesus Christ, can be Moses, can be Buddha, or it can be any natural resource if, say, you're not connected to any religious figures or any figures which are out there in history that represent like maybe kindness or strength or whatever emotions you want to connect to. You can see what are you connecting in the nature. It can be mountain, it can be fire, it can be like a dove. Anything that you want, that you can relate to. If you want to say, okay, I want to connect to gentleness, maybe you can imagine a white dove. If I want to connect to strength and stability, I will connect to the mountain. If I want to connect to curiosity, and I might just connect to, or if I want to connect to my internal fire, okay, to creativity, I will connect to fire. So it can be any actors or any actors that played certain parts that you really connect to, maybe like from Star Wars or from any movies. It really doesn't matter, but in these resources, you can based on what you really need. Do I need peace? Maybe I connect to somebody who represents peace for me. Or do I need inspiration? I will connect to somebody who presents inspiration for me. And once you, and we, in this resourcing, we're doing exact same thing as we were doing with our supportive others resourcing. We're looking at the picture of that imaginary, the resource that is imaginary, or we know from literature, we know from history, or we're bringing it in our mind's eye. And we're connecting to the way we feel while we're thinking about this resource, while we're imagining being with us. We can even ask them for advice, again, by establishing certain spiritual communication with them. Some resources we can ask to provide as guidance, can be guidance on daily matters, on spiritual matters. What it is, when we're imagining certain representation of a certain quality, we are connecting to maybe deeply hidden resources of this quality in ourselves. So we're tapping into our own answer in a way, okay? We're tapping into our own strengths, in our own stability, or in our own passion. But it's very hard to do it directly sometimes until we become truly self-led. Then we can tap in it directly. Until then, we can tap into these powers through imagining outside resources, as if outside resources, but internalizing these outside resources. And again, this is one can be a little tricky, but definitely practice it if you feel connected to this one. We'll discuss it and we'll definitely practice and create specific resourcing and exercising for you. Positive role models, it's kind of can be connected to symbolic resources. Yeah, I kind of already mentioned that, but let's talk about a little bit more about this. Would be about positive role models. That might be your specific people who embody the specific strengths or specific quality that you would like to either discover, reconnect in yourself, or evoke in certain periods when you feel like you need to really rely on it. So as example, if your mother was associated with unconditional love for you, and something is happening in your life and you have to tap into your resource of unconditional love, but you can't. You can imagine your mother and feel how it feels for you to be unconditionally loved by your mother, how it feels in your body, and you can apply the same energy towards the person towards whom you need to experience unconditional love. Or you might just say, well, I just want to feel it for myself, what it feels to be unconditionally loved. And you again call your mom in your mind's eye. If your mom passed, if she doesn't pass, if she's still with us, you can call her on the phone and just connect to her. You don't have to explain her what's going on. You can just hear her voice and just feel it. Or it can be your pet, as example. Say, I want to just feel calmness, and I know my cat gives it to me when I pet her. So she symbolizes and she feels so calm. Or I want to connect to wisdom, and I'm imagining, Buddha. So Buddha, and you just connecting to this part of wisdom from Buddha in help, and ask Buddha to be with you, to provide you the wisdom. Okay, so that's how the positive role model work. Here we kind of isolating a certain either strengths or certain way we want to feel, and we're connecting just to this particular strengths or a feeling that we want to experience towards ourselves or toward others. Okay, and internal resources these are more relying on ability to connect to certain parts in ourselves. If we're already able to access our true self, our wise, kind, and compassionate part, we can just stay, we can connect and stay with this part. But If we are not there yet, and lots of us cannot continuously or spontaneously and on demand to assess, to connect to this true self, we can find different parts in us that we already practiced in the inner child work. And these parts would be compassionate, loving, and confident adults in ourselves. So we will connect to our own adult part, and we will ask this part to either support you or lead you or advise you, just in whatever way you need to be supported in this time. So as example, remember our inner child work when we was telling our little child that I am responsible, or I am loving, I am relatable, I am compassionate adult who is always will be there for you. I'll say, okay, right now I just want some compassion. There is a compassionate adult in me. Can I ask him this? Can I ask her, this adult, to open her heart towards myself, my whole system? Or I have this wise adult in me that was giving you good advice and protection to the little child. Can I reconnect to her and ask her just to give me an advice on something? So I will just feel her in my body and I will ask, okay, the wise part of myself, what do we feel about it? What do we think about it? And just see what comes up. Okay, so just to reiterate again, by all this supportive others, positive role models, internal resourcing, symbolic resources are just the ways for you to tap into your subconsciousness. Bring all these resources that's already stored in you, your kindness, your compassion, your love, your wisdom, to the surface. Bring it into your consciousness, into your mind, and helping you to manage your life by using these resources. The third part in our resourcing program are going to be so-called self-connection resources. So what does it mean? In this type of resourcing, we're really connecting with the parts in ourselves directly. This type of resourcing represents a more direct, real direct access without intermediaries of either supportive or imaginary figures. We are connecting to resources, strengths, or passions hidden in us directly. So in this presentation, I broke them down into sections like connecting to your fun self, beautiful self, creative self, and sensual self. Let's talk. These guys are relatively self-explanatory, but let's talk about them briefly so you'll get an idea how you can apply them. And these are actually the easiest ones to apply. So if you're just starting to work with resourcing, I would suggest you to really maybe start with one or two self-connection resources. Okay, connection to your fun self. As we all know, laughter is very, very, very healing. So find out what really brings you joy. What makes you laugh? What is fun for you? Okay? So fun can be going out with friends, or having conversations with friends, maybe going to comedy shows, reading certain books, watching certain movies, listening to certain music, okay? It doesn't matter what it is. And really say, okay, I have this fun part in me. We all do. We have different definition of fun, but we all have the fun self. So how can I really nurture this fun, my fun self, and schedule maybe during the day, maybe a few minutes during the day to listen to that music that gives you joy, or to watch a show that makes you laugh, or go on a hike on a weekend, or schedule trip to a comedy show. Okay? Or maybe what brings you joy is meditation. Schedule the meditation throughout the day and maybe yoga session on the weekend. So the rule here, it does not matter what it is, as long this is fun for you and as long as you can promise yourself to make an effort to really put it in your life, to nurture this fun part of yourself. Now let's talk about connecting to your beautiful self. This connection again can be self-led if we already have access to our true self. It can be spontaneous because your true self will know how much sleep you need, what kind of food and how much of it you need. Do you need any exercise and what type of it? But until we really know that, we can start maybe sensing it, saying what makes me look beautiful, feel beautiful. And again, it's so important to connect to perception of beauty that is in your eye, not in the eye of the society, not your friends, but how do I feel the best? In which ways do I feel beautiful? It's not about weight, okay? It's not about the body type. It's about being healthy in your body and in your mind and feeling at your best and being happy with the way you feel, with the way you think, and with the way you look. So what we need to do here, unless it's already happening in our life, we have to create certain habits around our lifestyle that will help us to look, feel, and think the way that makes us happy and makes us feel beautiful. So, and here we can approach it from the different standpoints. We can start sleeping if we can. Maybe we can open the window, or maybe we have to turn on or off air conditioner. Maybe we can listen to certain sounds. We can create a healthy exercise and food routine. And healthy, whatever you feel healthy, whatever you know is healthy for you, okay? Whatever your body will feel to the kind of routine. And here you'll have to really listen to your body. What kind of food do I like? What kind of food makes me ill? But what kind of food make me feel the best? At what weight do I feel the best? At what weight do I like myself? Okay? This is a little bit of a loaded subject, but let's talk about it. There is maybe some health limitations. Some people just cannot be at the weight that they want to be because of health limitations. Here we have to, that's a different story. Here we really have to be compassionate with ourselves and start loving ourselves any way we are. This is something we've already talked about in our program, but I want to re-emphasize it. Here we'll bring our acceptance and compassion and loving self. Okay? But we all can make sure that we have as much rest as we can. Okay, there is a constraints, but as much as we can. We can have the best kind of food that we can afford, or we can manage to create for ourselves, okay? We can buy clothing and jewelry. And again, it can be as cheap or expensive as you can afford. There is absolutely no rule. It does not have to be anything crazy, or it doesn't have to be cheap. It's whatever it is in your world. As the only rule is that clothes and jewelry make me feel happy. I really like it. And give your skin again lotions or any kind of nurture that she wants to give. So, and give yourself any kind of nurture that you can give that makes you feel beautiful in your eyes. Okay? The next connection, that next resourcing that we're creating is connection. It's connection to your creative self. With this one, we can really have fun. Maybe you can think, what inspires you? What lights you up? It doesn't have to be anything that you're good at. It can be, or it can be something that you really, which society will say you suck at. As example, I love to sing, but I'm tone deaf. I'm a horrible singer. But hey, if I love to sing, I can sing to myself all I want. Who cares? That's not about how good you're at that, or what other people will say about you, or what others will even enjoy listening to you, looking at the pictures that you produce. It's not about that. It's about what do I enjoy. It's all about you. If you might say, well, there is nothing I don't think I'm passionate about, think about your childhood. As a child, what did you like? What brought you joy? No matter how silly it might seem to be, if it's playing with a Play-Doh, or coloring, or jumping jacks, does not matter. Do it, see how it makes you feel. If it brings you joy, continue. If it doesn't bring you joy, see, is it anything else there? Everybody has something. Here your goal is to discover it. And what's important here, and again, enough commitment to yourself to discover what brings you joy, and then making commitment to yourself to give this joy to yourself. So again, it might be taking dancing classes, it might be growing roses, it may be painting, it may be going back to school, and maybe even maybe changing your jobs, or maybe just getting education for the sake of education. Does not matter, okay? What's important here is that, how I say it, just become unapologetically authentic you. That's what's so important here. And now let's talk about connection to your essential self, which kind of encompasses already connection to your beautiful self and your bodily connection that we discussed in the previous part. So again, it's deeply connecting to your body, experiencing your body as it is, and falling in love with your body, with all this sensuality in your body, with all the power of your body, but also falling in love, and this is a deeper subject, which is not necessarily included in resourcing, but which will definitely touch in our program. So falling in love with your body the way it is. It doesn't mean we will not strive to change something that we don't enjoy. It's not about that, but we'll still love ourselves just any way we are. Okay, so our self-love is not contingent on any kind of a shape or form or health of our body. This is a constant. Okay, but to get there, we need to, because when we love something, we care for it, right? Even saying we love a child, and our child might not be in a top physical or mental shape, they might be ill, or there might be something going on with them physically, emotionally. Our heart might ache for them, but we still love them. We will do anything in our power to help them. Why? Because we love them. That's how we need to start treating our body. We love ourselves any way we are, but if we can help ourselves to feel better, we'll do anything we can to do that. So here again, start giving your body physical and sensual pleasures in a daily basis. If it's, be that yoga, be that physical exercise, be it hot bath, be it putting lotions on. Okay, if you can, manicures, massages, facials, all that is a connection with your body, is giving yourself pleasures. Okay, and the exercises, maybe we love them. Some try to find, maybe we don't. So, but something, if we feel that our body needs to move, and usually they do, we need to do some kind of activity. It can be gardening, it can be walking, can be jumping, can be yoga. My advice for you is to experiment and find something that you like and stick with it. Okay, and last but not least, physical sensations. If you have a partner for sex, please explore, experiment, but first find out what do you really like. Masturbate, touch yourself in different ways. Just really know what brings you joy and what brings you pleasure, okay? And put it out there, experience it, either with your partner or by yourself. Doesn't really matter as long as it brings you joy. Okay, this is our self-connection resources. And now we'll move to the last part of our presentation. We're talking about the fourth final part of our resource presentation, is what I called here your success-based resources. Okay, what does this mean? They can be behavioral-based, strengths-based, emotional-based, thought-based. I would probably advise you to use behavioral-based and strengths-based resources together for simplicity. Okay, let me explain how that works. Behaviors, it's when we evoke certain behaviors from the past that helped us to succeed or achieve our goal. So as example, our goal was to get straight A's in college. So the behavior associated with it was attending the lectures, studying, literally sitting down at the table and studying, reading books when you might have not wanted to, when you wanted to go out, but you would still study and make an effort to create time every day to study and finishing your coursework by deadlines. What now, strengths-based? What kind of a strengths of character did you use to accomplish all that? Maybe you would use your strengths of your discipline, strengths of your drive, or strengths of your desire of knowledge, desire for knowledge, okay? Or strengths of your desire to be a good student. So maybe the strengths of your discipline. Okay, so this is your internal strengths: is discipline, love of knowledge, okay, your internal organization, ability to postpone the pleasure, ability to organize your life. All these are your internal strengths. So how do we apply them? So as example, now you're facing a deadline at your work and you're really struggling to meet it. So in your mind's eye, you connect to the time when you were able to sit down at the table and make sure that to get that A, maybe while your friends were partying. So you will connect to that behavior and you will connect to this discipline. Really go back to the time when it happens. See how that feels and brings this energy into working on your project. Is to say to yourself, I am bringing my discipline into the mix and I am bringing my desire to succeed in the mix, and I am bringing the behaviors that helped me in the past, like ability to spend long periods of time by studying or working, producing. That can be your resource for helping you to go through, to finishing this report or presentation at a certain time. Or, like giving you a different example, maybe something your partner or your child really upsets you, and you want to be loving and you want to be compassionate toward them, but you just cannot find it in yourself. You're irritated and you don't know how to behave toward them. So you would think, okay, in the past, when did I behave towards somebody with kindness and compassion? And how does, you might think, well, I remember when my puppy was very little. Okay, and of course I was irritated when I had to wake up and take it outside. But I knew this is a little puppy, it cannot hold it, or even sometimes it pees on the floor. But I understand, okay? I understand, so I was kind and compassionate towards this puppy. This is just an example. So, how did I behave? I would see the puppy, that's my behavior, okay? What is the character strengths of their kindness? So, character strengths there is kindness and compassion. Then you say, okay, how did I behave when the puppy peed on the floor? Or when the puppy squealed and woke me up in the middle of the night? Maybe my first reaction was irritation. Maybe say, damn it, okay, we're all human. But not wake up joyous and say, oh, what a joy, let me clean this carpet, right? Or what a joy, let me get up in the middle of the night and get this puppy out. No, we might feel mad. We might feel irritated. But then we evoke this kindness and compassion. Say, okay, I might say, damn it, but okay, honey, I will take you out. Or, yeah, what can I do? But it's okay. You wet the floor, I understand. Let us train some more. And then we take this ways of how we managed our irritation, which we might feel towards our kids, our partners, our co-workers, and towards ourselves, our friends. That's normal. How did I, in the past, how did I used to manage this irritation and act in a way that I want to act towards the people I love or care about, with kindness and compassion? So we'll go back in our mind's eye to those times with the puppy, and we imagine this puppy, and we evoke our kindness that we felt, our compassion that we felt, and we will try to model that behavior of managing our irritation, maybe letting all the steam later, but still acknowledging our feeling, but then connecting to kindness and compassion and behaving towards others in ways that are aligned with kindness and compassion. Okay, that's how we use these resources. Emotional resources. This is very cool. I actually love this a lot. This is a feeling state, feelings that contribute to our successes in the past. This is directly, and this one I would really advise you to look into, and I would definitely work with you together to help you to really be able to connect to it. This one is a little tricky, but what it is, it goes again back to our inner child work. Remember how we connected to certain feelings of pain, distress, mostly. In that work, we mostly connected to painful feelings in our body, right? In this dude, what we're trying to do is to connect to positive, joyous or happy feelings in our body. So, and this one you can use anytime. Anytime you need to connect to your internal strengths, or you just need to help yourself when you're anxious, or maybe very sad, but you maybe need to go to work, you need to make presentation. So in this way, just recall any happy event in your life. When you really felt on top of the world. It can be your wedding, it can be birth of your child, it can be a time when you got this new puppy, or it can be time when you got the present the present you were always dreamed about as a child, as long as you knew you felt absolutely joyous and happy, okay? Or if you want to connect to joy. So what you do, in your mind's eye, you take yourself back to that event. Maybe it's your high school graduation or your college graduation where you felt joy, or your wedding. You connect to this feeling of joy, like how does this joy feel in my body? And then you take this feeling, you stay with this feeling and go into the situation that maybe you need to manage while you're experiencing this feeling in your body. Or just be with it. If you just want to bring joy spontaneously to you, just be with this feeling. Or maybe you will need to tap into your strengths. Think about difficult events that you overcame and how strong you felt afterwards. Again, maybe that was passing the staff exam in college. Maybe it was acing this presentation at work. Or maybe helping your child to overcome some difficult illness or some emotional distress, or your partner, or even helping yourself in the past. And after it's been accomplished, you felt so strong. Connect to the strengths. How does the strengths feel in your body? Go back again to this outcome. Have a picture, snap picture of this outcome in your mind. How did you look at that time? When maybe when you found out your grade, or when your child was healed, or you knew that child overcame the distress, or maybe when you overcame distress and you passed yourself. How did the strengths feel in my body? And now when I need to manage that something in my life that might be difficult to manage, how can I stay with this feeling of strength and continuously evoke this feeling of strength while I'm going through this difficult situation? See what happens. Okay? And the last resource is thoughts. It's think about. This is actually kind of a mental exercise. Mental resourcing, meaning in the past, what did you think about yourself, others, or life that really helped you to achieve certain successes? So as example, let's go back to the college example. You needed to pass a difficult test. And your thought about yourself was, with some studies, I will be capable to pass it. And my professor is reasonable enough. Maybe, they will say, okay, maybe even if I will not be able to make an A, professor is reasonable enough to give me B if I know my material. So your thoughts about yourself. Okay, I am capable, and my thought about my professor, they're reasonable. They will give me a grade which is aligned with my level of knowledge. They're fair and they're reasonable. Okay? So here is your thought about yourself, and maybe your thought about life would be, it's all in balance. If I can study enough and get an A, if I can study for, 10 hours, most likely I will get an A. Good. But maybe I cannot study for 10 hours, but I know if I study for 7 hours, I certainly will get a B. Let me keep it in balance. Okay? So here's your thought about self. I am capable. Your thought about other. He is fair and he is reasonable. And your thought about life, I can manage my life. Life is manageable. And I can achieve what I need, but at the same time, I can maintain my balance. So if you get sidetracked in life, you can bring up this event in your mind's eye and say, in managing this new difficult event or going through this difficult time in my life, let me bring the thought about myself, I am capable, the thought about others, they reasonable, in the fair, in the thought about life. Life can be manageable and life can be balanced. And can I approach this new event or painful, maybe difficult time in my life through the thought process, okay? So now just to recoup, we went through different types of resourcing. All these resources help you to tap into your own internal resources and use them to support you in any worldly endeavor or in any internal endeavor that you're experiencing. So again, we will look at them more closely in our one-on-one session, but for now, just to recoup, I would advise you maybe to go back and listen, look at the PowerPoint presentation, pick one or two, maybe self-connection resources, maybe your success-based resources that are a little easier to connect to, and start practicing. And in our one-on-one session, we will go over the other types, the relationship-based symbolic resources, self-led resources, the ones that you pick, will practice them, and definitely apply them throughout our program. And hopefully you will be applying them throughout your life as helpful, as very, very helpful tools for managing your life and for fulfilling your life purpose.